Hey, welcome to Chris Lowery for Jefferson County Sheriff, your independent candidate for Jefferson County Sheriff 2026. I want to welcome everybody in tonight. I was trying to get it going here. We had a few folks on there. I think I started a little too early, and maybe they didn't, enjoy it as much, trying to build up for people to come in. So that's what I was trying to do. So anyway, this is Chris Lowery, your independent candidate for Jefferson County Sheriff 2026. Let's get a few people on here. Looks like we've got 5 or so far. So welcome. Again, this is our weekly live Facebook broadcast. I do send it out to YouTube and both my Facebook pages, one for sheriff and one for personal as well as let it stay up for about 30 days so you can go back and rewatch it. So if you would, let me get you to like and tag some folks in the comments, see if we can get some people in here tonight in relation to Jefferson County, Jefferson County politics, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and just talk about some experiences people within the county of Jefferson have had recently, and see what we got. I've discovered some stuff over this past week I want to talk about. I'm going to call them broken promises. It appears to be something that has gone on, and in relationship to the jail. So I would like to talk about that. All right. So as we move along there, hopefully everybody has had a great week since last Monday. We're still defrosting from the great Snowmageddon. That's had us froze in pretty good. I think we did get close to 60 degrees today down here in Pine Bluff, Whitehall, Jefferson County area to hopefully melt most of these roads off. I think some of the neighborhoods still possibly have some pretty good ice on them, but each day has gotten better and better. And then today I just traveled around Pine Bluff, specifically out on the north and east side, and it appeared to be pretty good. So anyway, as we got people logged on here, I want to just talk about what your experiences are with Jefferson County, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, experiences you have with them. We put out a poll this week that we talked about a couple of things. It was very interesting. The two things we were asking on that poll was, would you rather faster response times? So if you were someone who uses the sheriff's office, and under my administration, those sheriff deputies would be utilized within the municipalities as well. Would you prefer to see them more often or faster response times? That was the question, and it seemed like an overwhelming response was they would like both, but at the end they knew that due to manning and situations that sometimes you can't have both. So they seemed like it looked like they were weighing in more on the fast response times because, in life and death situations, emergency situations, seconds matter, right? So we got to get that cut down. I am in the process of obtaining data to look at what the average response times are from the time that an individual is getting dispatched to a call to a time that they're arriving on scene, to include the time that they're clearing that call with a disposition, whether that's a report or situation was resolved, whatever. So I'm in the process of gathering that data currently, and some of you who may or may not be in the law enforcement field. So from the time we get dispatched to a call, that gets time stamped. So the time we arrive on a call, that gets time stamped. That way we know how long it took to get there. And then also when you leave, we do down here disposition codes on what actions we took over there. And that time gets logged as well. So I'm in the middle of grabbing that data. So I kind of preluded it a little bit on before I get into that, hopefully everybody that is following me became a registered voter prior to today. The reason why I say that is today was the last day to become a registered voter for the Jefferson County primary. I do want to clarify, because there's still some misconceptions or misnomers out there about my name in the primary ballot. I will not be on there. This is a primary race. There are 2 Democrats vying for the position of Jefferson County Sheriff. Those 2 individuals will be going head to head for the Democratic nomination. And once the voters select who they want, the winner of that Democrat primary will go against me in November of 26. However, it is vitally important for you to do your civic duty and get out and vote, right? So hopefully all of you have become a registered voter. If nothing else, got it put in the mail today, and hopefully it counts. I'm not quite sure on that. You'd have to contact the county clerk about that specifically. But I do know today was the last day to register for the primary. So there's several races within Jefferson County that are critical for us to be involved in: prosecuting attorney, county judge's race, some JPs. I believe there's 1 or 2 city aldermen for the city of Pine Bluff if you live in the city of Pine Bluff and live in those specific wards. So I encourage you to get out there, do your due diligence, do some investigating, researching on your candidates, and cast a vote for the person that most of their ideals align with your ideals as much as possible. I stated earlier today on a quick live I did before I went into the Jefferson County District Court on a court case I had, that you're not always going to agree with your candidate on everything they do. If that was the case, everybody would wear the same color clothes or drive the same color car. We all have differences of opinion and different ways to use the old phrase, different ways to skin a cat. But find the candidate that best aligns with what you believe is needed for Jefferson County. And I, for one, have been strong on stance that I believe that we need to be tough on crime, have safe, efficient jail operations, collaborate and cooperate with local, state, federal agencies to accomplish this task, cut down on the crime rate that is plaguing Jefferson County and causing the crisis that we are having. So with that, I believe, with the collaboration and cooperation, then, I've talked about having the heavily involved community by utilizing the deputy and all employees, whether they're sworn or not, to be involved in the community. And I will figure out a way to make that happen on the clock, right? So there's a way they're not being told to do something that they're not being compensated for, but I will find a way to utilize their skills and resources in the community where it is best fit to help turn this thing around. And then lastly, utilize my leadership and experience over the last 22 years of law enforcement and 30 years of leadership to get us to where we need to go. So as I alluded to, some broken promises, right? So you hear scuttlebutt or just conversation a lot of times about politicians and what have you. I've said from the get-go that I'm not into the mudslinging contest. So in any shape, form, or fashion, I don't want anybody to see this and think, well, Lowery just went back on his words. He is slinging mud. That's not what I'm doing. But as I have began this race back in September, October, I have been constantly researching different aspects from the sheriff's office and the county government in particular, and just see, we all are aware of budget crisis, budget impasse, differences of JPs and county judges and sheriff's office not getting along to get along and passing budgets and what have you that's affected the county as a whole. So I think politics has become a very, very strong talking point within Jefferson County in this election for sure. And so as I've been researching this, and I tell everybody that the number one thing I want to do is be tough on crime, because I believe, I got some stats wrote down here. Let me flip this paper around. Don't mind the noise. Okay, so currently Jefferson County is at a 50-year low when it comes to population. In 1950, so that's a long time ago. In 1950, we had 76,075 people living in Jefferson County, according to the national database. So in 2020, that population has shrunk to 67,260, right? So 50 years, we ain't gained nothing. We've lost tremendously, right? So, and it went from, I'm trying to pull it back up there real quick. So looks like in 1900, when they began keeping up with stats, we had 40,972. And then we hit an all-time high in 1980 with 90,718. Then it began shrinking in 1990 to 85,000, 2008 to 84,000, and then 2010 to 77,000. And then the last one that was taken in 2020 was 67,260. So I say that to let you know that we have got to stop the bleed of Jefferson County. We have got to stop the fact that people are not wanting to move to Jefferson County. What do we have to offer them other than high crime rates, low paying jobs, poor infrastructure, a lot of blight within the city of Pine Bluff? What do we have to offer, right? So I have, hang on one second. Hello. Man, I'm on the live right now, man. Call me back. All right, bye. I apologize for that. That was my campaign manager. I guess he got confused on the date and time or something. I don't know. So I want to take that because in case there was an emergency. Anyway, I apologize for doing that. But anyway, so what do we have to offer them other than high crime rates, high unemployment rates, failing education, right? We don't have much to offer them other than this is a beautiful part of the state once we get it cleaned up. So as I've approached this, I believe, based on my experience, that the biggest issue we have is being tough on crime. What goes with crime? Holding them accountable, right? As we hold them accountable, that means that we have to, whether it's issue citations, summonses, put them in jail, confinement, what have you. And then based off my experience in 3 years of dealing with the Jefferson County Dub Brazel Detention Center, I have noticed that they don't take inmates on a regular basis. And it's what we would do is called what I would refer to as a closed jail. It's not closed, okay? They'll say it's not closed. We take people. They don't take everybody, right? So they pick and choose, and it's a matter of who you get, what deputy you get, what crime they committed. And just honestly, I've experienced everything from minor misdemeanors being held, such as shoplifting, to the refusal of holding someone that has had a charge of possession of firearms by certain persons, right? So that's a big of a drastic difference that I've seen, right? That's me personally has experienced that regardless of what they tell you. So as I've researched that, and everybody knows, not everybody, and I don't want to make light of the situation, but in November, we had 2 people killed in the jail, right? So not only do we have the jail that is not functioning properly to be able to process law violators. We have that issue, but then the safety and security of the jail within itself. And then I'm being given information on a fairly regular basis about not only the safety of inmates, but food, clothing, climate, rodents, bed space, whatever, right? So as I've really started diving into this and what I looked at, because if you know my history, I grew up here, graduated high school in 1992, left with the United States Air Force active duty, and in 2010, purposely, consciously, and intentionally made the decision to move back here to Jefferson County and raise my family and graduate them through Jefferson County through Whitehall High School. I've since opened up a business here in the city of Pine Bluff, and now, because of my experiences within Jefferson County, I've discovered that we're just not doing a very good job at combating crime. So anyway, that all led to me running for sheriff. But as I looked this past week, I was researching some things on the Dub Brazel Detention Center, and in 2003, they passed a sales and usage tax to fund the jail. And one of those things that they said, let me find this right here because I want to be quoted exactly correct. So this says the history of the jail. In 2007, the Jefferson County officials opened the WC Dub Brazel Detention Center, a new state-of-the-art facility that nearly triples the number of jail beds in Jefferson County. This is directly off the Jefferson County. Matter of fact, let me share that with you guys so you don't think that I'm doing something. Okay, so I'll share that with you. so you can see it yourself. All right, so as we go to that, in Jefferson County and Pine Bluff has long been considered a hotbed for crime for some time. The opening of the new Dub Braswell Detention Center, with its 310 beds, changed the past issues: lack of space for offenders. The new detention facility affords their agency the opportunity to be able to do as they promised to the citizens of Jefferson County. That promise is that we are committed to locking up the criminal element here in Jefferson County, something that we have not been able to do for a long time. Previously, because of a detainee overcrowding issue, Jefferson County was forced to house detainees at other facilities throughout the state. I read something earlier that they were spending up to about $200,000 to do that. The new state-of-the-art facility is equipped with video surveillance for monitoring detainees, as well as video visitation for the visiting families of detainees. The surveillance equipment also ensures the overall security of the facility is maintained, right? So I'm going to highlight that right there. This is what I call broken promises. So if you look right there in the middle, it says that the promise is that we are committed to locking up the criminal element here in Jefferson County, something that we've not been able to do for a long time. And I'm going to highlight this up here so you don't think that I'm making this up. This comes right off the jeffcoso.org/jail website. So if they promised us in 2003, promised the citizens of Jefferson County, promised us then that, hey, y'all pass this sales and usage tax, we'll build this new jail, and it'll help reduce the crime rate. Crime rate has not been reduced when you consider that population has shrunk, okay? So it has shrunk by, hang on, give you factual data. So in 2003, when they passed this tax, we were between 84 and 77,000 people. In 2010, it was calculated at 77,000 people. So we had lost about 7,000 folks. And in 2020, we lost another 10,000. So if that crime rate has consistently stayed high, and we're not locking people up, their promise on their website says that we will combat crime and hold them accountable and lock them up and get them in the judicial system. I'm not about locking everybody up, but I am about processing of inmates. Y'all have heard me say that, processing law violators, plain and simple. There's no reason why someone should be allowed to commit a law violation against you or I, law-abiding citizens, and not be held accountable for that right then, right there. So that's the promise that I talked about. Looks like I've had some questions going here. Let me check out the comments here. Hey, Caden Cabot. Hey, Selena in Bentonville. Hey, Kim. Joy Matthews. Where do you stand? Oh, what do you say, Joey? Where do you stand on the ATF overreach for the Second Amendment rights, short barrel rifles and suppressors, basically creating a gun registry, right? So here's what I would say to you, Joey, on that. I'd have to research exactly what you're talking about. My understanding on the short barrel rifles and suppressors, and I've not read on it in quite a while, is that short barrel rifles, they've changed it around a little bit. It's went back and forth. There was an opportunity where you had what was called a stock, and it would be considered a pistol versus having the stock on it. You called it a brace. I'm sorry, I called it a stock, but had a brace on it, and there was some debate on whether that was a stock or not. What I will tell you is the law is the law, and as the sheriff, I would enforce the law, right? So if we disagree with those, what you're calling Second Amendment infringements, then we need to address that with our legislators that actually pass those laws, right? So those are federal laws. I'm also an intent person, right? So when you look around and you see someone's intent, I do believe that we need to make it harsher penalties on people that are having switches and modifications of guns that make them nothing more than assault rifles or assault weapons that have no legitimate purpose other than what I call spraying and praying, which is what they're doing in the city limits of Pine Bluff. I was just on scene somewhere. Today is Monday. Saturday night, probably heard in excess of 30 rounds being racked off through the use of a switch or an automatic weapon. And that's not good for our citizens, right? So what I would say, I'm not here to bash the federal government. I do believe in the Second Amendment. I do believe in the Constitution. And, you know, I'm not going to get a bickering contest. I'm going to follow the law, right? Where that is. So, hey, Kevin, let's see. Kim, I see you say state of the art. So I would imagine that in 2003, she's referring to the quote where they said it was a state of the art facility. I would venture to say that probably in 2003 it would have been considered state of the art. I've been pretty open about I've not been past the booking process only one time, past the booking area. I've only done that one time, but I have been told that many lock cameras and deficiencies are occurring in there within the jail. That they're having issues. So I don't know that it's considered state of the art now. I do know that there is a plan that can be put in place to get it back up to standard, up to code, up to as safe as of a jail as you possibly can. Follow the 8th Amendment where we give them the proper square footage, proper meals, proper medical treatment, and staff that thing up where we can have it as safe as a jail is. Let's face it, a lot of people like to say when I say questions or propose questions, you know, you got one side or the other. It's like my loved ones in there, or, you know, someone will come back and say it ain't supposed to be Disneyland. Well, I'm going to tell you, nobody, to include Chris Lowery, hopefully your next sheriff of Jefferson County, has ever said that jail's supposed to be Disneyland. But I'm going to tell you, regardless of who you are, because any of us could end up in there at any point, okay, is that it needs to be safe. They need to be fed. They need to be treated humanely, right? So I will stand fast on that. I do believe that we need more people in the jail. If that means the sheriff himself has got to turn keys and hold security and make sure that the people in there are safe to be able to be held accountable when they go to court. So it's not our job, and as a matter of fact, it's unconstitutional to put them in a place that is not safe and subjects them to cruel and unusual punishment. So if you're one of those that say it's not supposed to be Disneyland, I don't think you ever heard me say that it's supposed to be Disneyland or a good time. Matter of fact, I'm all about making the accountability such a way that they don't want to come back after receiving our programs, but was accountable for their actions, but treated firm, fair, and consistent the whole time. So, hey, Stephen, yep, bottom line, it is time for change. So it's time for Jefferson County to have a lawman as a sheriff and not a politician, period, right? That's what it boils down to, time for change, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. So Kathy, so if in 2007 the new jail was built to be able to house those, I just got something happened there. Hang on a second, Kathy. In 2007, the new jail was built to be able to house those who were arrested and cut down on crime. Why has it failed? The population is lower, but we're still overcrowding, so they say. So again, I don't work there, so I don't want to cast shade unjustly. I think it's a multi-angled problem. I think part of it is budget. I think that court members and JPs and county judges and sheriffs have allowed personal issues to come in between them where budgets have been cut, slashed, or withheld. I believe that the lack of leadership, that we didn't catch problems before they occurred, such as detainees escaping from a jail due to vulnerabilities. I'm using current sheriff's loose verbiage that I remember from the other night, is that there are certain number of cells, I don't remember what he said, cells, pods, confinement areas, let's just put it that way, that are currently not being able to be used because of security risk and violations that apparently they're not spending the money on. I don't know if that's part of being withheld or whatever. So I know when it was built, I got two different figures here. They say 310 beds, and I've seen 316. So let's just go safe and go, it's 300 plus beds. And their current, let's see here, current count as of right now is 236. So let's see, that would be 44, 54 on the low number. If 310 is really all the bed space they have, 54 that were short for one reason or another. Again, me not working there, I can't tell you exactly why they're short. I do know that Sheriff Wood spoke about some deficiencies in some of these sales pods, bed areas that he wasn't able to utilize. That's unacceptable. If that's been going on, I think the last escape was in 19 or 21. I like to say this a lot. If you work in or around me, you'll hear me say, man, we put people on the moon faster than we can get buildings built around here. I don't understand why we haven't got these deficiencies fixed. But it's not, again, it's not even about me locking them up or about the sheriff locking them up. It's about processing the dadgum inmates when they violate the crime. What I'm tired of, what I'm frustrated with as a law-abiding citizen, as a law enforcement professional, it's a twofold problem. Is that I'm out there, and there's many other people out there. There's over 100 people at my department, and there's 100 at the sheriff's office, and there's a couple municipalities around here that as well. So I'm going to say we're approximately, you count ACC and ADC and all that, you're 230, 250 law enforcement professionals that come out every day and risk their lives to protect the citizens of Jefferson County, and then to be told that you can't house them in the jail, a promise that you made in 2003. And when it was done in 2007, 2003 was when the tax was passed, but you made the promise. It's still on your website. So I don't understand what that's all about. I consider that a broken promise. So what I can tell you is that once I have complete and total access and control of that jail, I will conduct an inventory and an inspection and adamantly work on getting these deficiencies fixed and come up with alternative housing and minimally process these law violators through getting them fingerprinted, photographed, booked, and released on an OR as long as that's lawfully allowed for them to be out on an OR. It doesn't make no sense to me that that we made a promise, we passed a tax. I think it was a 2/3 cent tax. I think that's what it said. In 2003, opened in 2007. And 19 years later, we're still breaking those promises, and we've been breaking them for the past 3 years that I know of, because that's how long I've been dealing with this jail. So that's the broken promise that I want to talk to you about, that I want to mention to you. It's not about mudslinging, because let's just face it. The current sheriff was not sheriff in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think he came in 18. So anyway, that's what it's all about for me. It's about accountability for the law violators. It's about accountability for the farmer that gets their side-by-side stolen and a deputy don't even respond and take their report. It's about when we catch the person that stole the side-by-side, being able to take them to the jail and at least getting them fingerprinted and processed and in the judicial system, so the judges can levy the punishments that are lawfully and legally allowed to do to help cut down the crime rate, but also will allow me and my jail advisory staff to utilize our programs to help cut down on recidivism. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem. People continue to commit crimes time after time after time, and right now I'm telling you, you can go out and find any individual that is a law violator, and they know that if they don't commit a violent act, they're not going to jail. They know if they have a warrant, they're not going to jail. They tell you that when you interact with them. So if they know it and they're not wearing a badge and getting paid by a department, then that's crazy, right? So that's where I was talking about the broken promises. So let me look at some questions here. I agree, Stephen. Yep, it's time for action, not word. Yes, sir. It's going to be a busy first year for sure, but we're going to come in and do everything that I've said we're going to do. And we're going to make this a much safer place with a safe, efficient jail from day one. I've made a promise that on my swearing day that I will go to the jail myself with the team and start getting that right. And then we will all work with the municipalities to hold people accountable for law violations. So any word on who's giving the medicine out at the inmates at night, since there is no nurse there? I have not heard that at all, Doug. I think that was a question that was brought up last week. I've done a little bit of questioning about that. But just the short answer is anybody who likes to, that knows a deputy, knows the jail deputy, feel free to answer that question there for Doug. So it would be pretty awesome to know that, because I do have an associate that their loved one was recently locked up, and they were telling me that they didn't even understand how to be able to make phone calls in there. And the lack of information, the information did not flow smoothly. So I could imagine if I had a loved one in there and was concerned about them receiving proper medical care, I would really be at wit's end trying to determine that. So if anybody's out there, people like to copy and ask questions and say, Lowery said this and Lowery said that. Well, tell them I want to know who's giving out the medication at night. Do you have nursing staff there? I've never seen them. I'm not saying they're not there. But I'm telling you, every time that I've taken somebody to jail that the on-duty deputy slightly thinks they need to have medical attention, we get told to send them to Jefferson Regional for a medical clearance, that nobody has ever come out the back to check this person out. So I'm assuming, we all know what happens when you assume that there is no medical staff on duty to hand out those pills at night or that medication at night. But for me to be 100% accurate in that, Doug, I would be fibbing to you, and I do not want to fib to you. I'm just telling you the information as I know it. So, Kevin says it was that time they took the jail from us, ADC on 7th. Yeah, so I hear a lot of the older school Arkansas Department of Corrections employees talk about when they were running the jail over at the Randall L. Williams unit, that it was smoother and people weren't turned away, right? So I'm not saying that's the answer. 2003, they got the citizens of Jefferson County, you and I, to start paying higher taxes to pay for this jail. So I think it needs to be utilized. I think it's a matter of we lose perspective, right? So the sheriff's office is responsible for jail operations, civil process, the courts, right? And law enforcement actions outside unincorporated areas. But I feel like sometimes, I don't want to say we forgot where we come from, but we forgot our purpose, forgot our why. We focus on having, for me, maybe I'm saying something I shouldn't say here, but right now, as it is, I know for a fact that they have several deputies that are working in federal positions, okay? And if you're understaffed in the jail, people are having slow response times, people are getting killed in the jail. I don't know that we need to be having people work with those federal agencies right now. I think that's an addition to, right? There is this, and then addition to, right? So priorities are misaligned, I think, right? So, but that's just from my perspective. And I might eat those words when I get in office and see it differently, but I don't think I will, because, first and foremost, it's about having that jail right. Then it's about responding to our citizens out here in Jefferson County. And I do think the jail is part of that, because if we don't have a safe, secure jail, people could be escaping and getting right back into our community. So I think those two things work hand in hand. And one of the things I love to say, and if you work around me, you've heard me say this before, but you can detect from a patrol car, but you cannot patrol from a detective's desk. And so what I mean by that is, if you're a Monday through Friday person with weekends off and holidays off, and when the snow's on the ground, we can't come in, what about the patrolmen? What about the citizens that need your help out there, right? It has never made sense to me that people forget where they come from and what their badge says or what their oath says. They're like, oh, well, that's me. I'm a detective. I'm an investigator. I'm this. So there will be some realignment of those folks to ensure that we can cut down on those response times and ensure that jail is safe and secure as much as humanly possible for a jail. So, Kim, we set out and listened New Year's Eve on 5th Street, and it sounded like a war. That it sounded like automatic weapons being fired. Yes, ma'am. This year, I did not work New Year's Eve, but the previous 2 years I did. And your description is on point. Sounded like a war zone. That's a problem. What goes up must come down. So when these individuals go out, start shooting weapons, automatic weapons, pulling the trigger so fast, they have no idea what they're doing, that's a problem. We need to address that. Now, when they're doing that, is it safe for these officers to run up? Probably not. But instead of, this is what you're told. All right, seek cover, get underneath the overhang, get as much protection as possible. They're going to go crazy. People are going to start shooting guns, right? That's because we've grown to say that's normal behavior, and it should not be normal. I don't care what they tell you. That's not normal. Where there's a problem, we have to come up with a solution. I don't know exactly what that solution looks like in your particular incident for the New Year's Eve situation, but more officers, more special weapons and tactics teams, more aggressive, proactive policing, more presence, more see something, say something, more education to the civilian population about why they shouldn't be doing this. I think it's a whole concept, but, I don't want to just venture off into the New Year's Eve deal there, Kim, but I agree with you. It sounds like a war zone for sure. And that's just completely unacceptable. So, a little reminder there in the comments that you can help support our campaign by purchasing some campaign merchandise. It's available at Diamond State Canine at 6523 Dalloway Road. You can get a hoodie, t-shirt, got a couple hats, got tumbler, coffee mug, what have you. Every little bit helps support this effort that we're doing to move forward and being your next sheriff. So if you want to stop by, that would be great. Most important thing to me is to earn your vote. Second most important thing to me is for you to tell your neighbor left, neighbor right, neighbor across the street, and try to educate them on why you believe Chris Lowery would do the best job for the next sheriff of Jefferson County. And then lastly, you can financially donate to us by purchasing some of our merchandise if you would like. That would help us out and much appreciated. Thank you so much. Nothing is ever state of the art. There is something new. There's something new coming out right when that one's built. I get what you're saying, Stephen. There's something new outright when something is installed. We need common sense jail operations. Do right by the people. Absolutely. So kind of goes back to that old saying that nothing beats good hard work ethic, a little elbow grease, make that happen, right? So yes, cameras, electronic jails, those do help, but nothing substitutes, right? Good hard work ethic, more on ethical law enforcement officers and the ability to have people on hand, on deck to do the job, right? So, and I know you know that better than anybody probably. So you can't keep from things happening in jail or prison, but officers present stops a lot. So great points, Kevin. Yes. So I know with your vast experience within the corrections field, you're absolutely right. You can't stop everything. You can't stop everything on the street. You can't stop everything in jail. The propensity or the possibility is probably higher in jail just because you're housing a large number, 310, or their current staff or their current inmate roster is 236. You're putting 236 known, believed to be criminals in one area. So you're going to have problems. But how do you combat that? So number one, treat them right. 2, feed them right. 3, give them the necessary things to have a safe environment, medical care, a bed, a mat. When I say a bed, a mat, I'm not talking about a twin or king size pillow top mattress. I'm saying give them a place to sleep. I'm being told that there are people in there sleeping in the phone booths or the visitation booths. That's not right. That's not fair, right? So you do that, and it keeps people from being so frustrated, aggravated, agitated. Then you also have more officers on hand. You run such things as disciplinaries, and you hold the inmates accountable for law violations as well. They're still citizens. They're just incarcerated citizens. So you got to hold them accountable as well. And then you bring in a team that understands that we're working with limited resources at the best we can do and providing as safe and as humane of an environment as possible, right? So I agree with you, Kevin, that you can't stop them all, but you can dang sure put a big dent in it and a deterrence up for them. So, Devin, so are they considering the jail full at this time, or is there another reason they're turning so many criminals away at the point serious offenders are being sent to other counties? So I think for me to answer that at my level, Devin, I think that's a great question. I have had situations where I've tried to take a female and they've said they're full on females. So there's only a certain number of females they could take. I've taken other people and they say, we're not housing them at this time. So I think they can, honestly, based on my experience, it kind of boils down to who's the booking officer at the time. I've had them where I'm like, hey man, can't you go ahead and take this one? And oh yeah, I'll do that for you. So I've had it work both ways, but I would say uh, they're probably trying to, and this is just assuming, they're probably trying to leave a few beds available in case they do have that horrendous violent person commit a law violation out on the streets of Jefferson County. So they do have room for them. So I don't know what that number looks like. Shoot from the hip, they probably have 1, 2, 3 beds that they're kind of holding short for that. That combined with some living areas not safe and secure, I think that combats the problem. But you're right. We have gotten to the point where we have to take offenders to other counties and pay $30, $40 a day for them to be over there. You know, so that's why I talk about at least processing them, though. So those of you who are not in law enforcement, I don't know if you quite understand that or not, but I'll go back to something as simple as shoplifting, misdemeanor amount. I believe that you should take their picture, their fingerprints, log that into the system. It's called the APA system, and document this as a charged offense. Because our laws are established that once people get more convictions of certain low-level crimes, they have enhancements. Okay, so if we're not doing that, I don't believe it's being documented properly, that it's actually getting into the system. I don't care what they say. I have purposely looked into this and seen situations that have slipped through the cracks where it's not being documented and accounted for. And I've experienced it myself, where we're not as tough on crime because officers will say, well, they're not taking them at the jail anyway. So we're more or less divert problems, and that's not the right way to handle it. We got to hold accountable. Let's see, Kevin, security checks and officers present and stops a lot of things. Absolutely. If you do, 30-minute random security checks, if you cut down on the contraband that gets into your correctional facilities, if you don't set patterns, if you do, and you'll know this term, Kevin, is just for you, but if you'll be all state, enforce the rules, yes, then that will cut down on a lot of your criminal activity and unsafe acts that occur within a correction facility. So let's see. Please explain why having the person process instead of just a ticket is so important to citizens and the officer safety. So I hit on that a little bit, Kathy. I'll highlight that comment. So what that has to do with is, I'll give you an example. I did say that I think I've had experiences where things have slipped through the cracks when they didn't get processed through the jail. But more importantly, so let me give you an example. So if I were to arrest somebody, detain somebody, possession by certain persons, that's a convicted felon who cannot lawfully own a firearm. This is a factual situation that happened to me in Jefferson County. The jail refused to take them. So we couldn't fingerprint them, take their picture, or have them processed in the APIS machine. Okay, so it was not documented. The end result was, in this particular case, that the detectives were going to seek a warrant for this individual. And so now, as an officer out there on the streets, if I deal with that person, which I did, I took their weapon, and they pretty much got to what we call kick rocks, just go down the street with no charges right then. So an hour later, 2 hours later, a week later, what have you, another officer comes in contact with this individual and runs them in our system. They have no way of knowing that just an hour, 2 hours, or a week earlier that this person was carrying an assault rifle. So that is a huge safety issue, a huge risk to our citizens. And that's what's unacceptable, and we shouldn't allow that to happen another flipping day. My life is important to me and my family, and every officer out there's life is important to them and their family. And I just believe that's part of it. So, let's see, Selena. Let's see. The only way we know how to create solutions is by identifying and knowing the problems. down to the roots. It's okay to fail. What's not okay is neglect and lack to fulfilling your obligation. 100%. 100%. I agree with that. So we got to be able to step out there. It's like Hitz has said for the Secretary of War that he's putting commanders back in authority now and allowing them to make those decisions. And he expects some failures to happen, but he also expects growth to happen. And that's my approach on this. Obviously, if somebody can show me where some of my ideas have already failed, that they've actually tried, I will listen to that. But I believe there's a different way that you can back up and punt and approach a situation differently than maybe the way it failed before. And those are alternative housing areas, recidivism programs for our education, job training, getting our small businesses involved to help cut down and combat this problem. This is an entire community problem that we got to use all of our resources available. So, how would you run a facility and not have medical staff? So that's a great question, Kevin. Obviously, you just can't turn the inmates away. As soon as I find out for sure there's no medical staff, well, I'm going to be doing my dangest to get that fixed. Whether that's the lowest level of a CNA, a EMT, a paramedic, an APN, a doctor, whatever that looks like. And I will be combating the budget gods out there to show why we need that, because there's no way that if you don't have any medical staff in there that you can be providing safe, adequate care for the individuals that are incarcerated. Too many of those people that I've dealt with, they have diabetes, they're on medication, they have ongoing pre-existing medical conditions, not counting what happens inside the jail. So the way I would combat that is ensure that everybody who works in the jail was CPR certified, TCCC certified, stop the bleed type situation, as well as work diligently to get 24-hour coverage within that jail. Whether that's looking at avenues of contract labor, hiring within the county, whatever the budget looks like. Because to be quite honest with you, I've tried to get those budgets through the Freedom of Information Act and been denied that. So been told they didn't have it. I don't know how you don't have a budget, but we've submitted for it and it's not been asked or not been answered. So let's see, Kevin. As a reminder, see my note here, you will not see me on the primary election, but you will see me on the general election in November. March is a primary ballot. It is important for you to still go out and cast your ballot for that, because there is 5 Democrat nominees for the county judge position. Several JPs are up for election competing against another Democrat. And there are 2 additional sheriff's candidates vying for the Democrat nomination to face me in the general election. So with that being said, I'm not pausing what I'm doing. That just reminded me is that today was the first day. So as an independent candidate, I have to obtain, according to the county clerk's office, I have to obtain, and the law, Arkansas annotated 7-7-103, I have to obtain registered voter signatures, in the county clerk's office informed me today that number would be 550 signatures of registered voters in Jefferson County. We've already got a start on that. Got a great day getting some signatures on those. But if you have not signed my petition, I'm asking you, come by 6523 Dalloway Road. That's the independent candidate petition to have my name on the ballot. It's the way we have to do it to be an independent candidate. But come by 6523 Dalloway Road Monday through Friday and sign that up. All my staff there is familiar with how to do that. If you're not a registered voter, we have voter registration cards and can get you registered, and you can go ahead and sign up. We need to get that accomplished. If you can't make it to 6523, I'm going to be at several events coming up over the next 2 weeks. We've got the Small Business Association, the Chamber luncheon, and then there's a Chamber Meet the Candidate. There's a forum on the 19th put on by the Divine Nine. I'll be at those locations. But you can also reach me at 870-556-0330, and I'll gladly take your phone call, your text message, and I'll come to you to get this filled out if need be. It's important to me for you to put your signature on there, as well as get a commit to vote for you, for me from you. So feel free, and I need you to get signed on this petition to have me on the ballot for the general election November of 2026. So we have 90 days to get 550 signatures. My goal is to get 2,000 in 30 days. You know, if you listen to me talk about getting the sheriff's office back on track, it's about going fast, efficient, and doing it the right way. You can see that in the numbers that I just spoke about. 550 is the requirement. We want to exceed that and get 2,000. We got 90 days, but we want to do it in 30. So I'm asking you, bring your friend, bring your girlfriend, bring your husband, bring your wife, whatever. 6523 Dalway Road. Let's get them registered. Let's get them signed up on this petition. So let's see. Christian, when response times fall short, is that typically a dispatch issue, staffing problem, or deputy accountability? And what standards will you enforce so that these calls are handled seriously, no matter how minor they seem? Great question from my son out of Florida. He knows his dad so well, I didn't prompt him to ask this question at all. Let me break the question down, Christian. So when response times fall short, is that typically a dispatch issue? I would say, based off of my experience, because I see the same, it's called the CAD, computer, or is it computer automated dispatch? It's the dispatching software. I see those same calls. I would say that typically it is not a dispatch issue. For the most part, I would feel very comfortable telling you that calls that come into the dispatch center, that come into Mecca, are typically dispatched in under less 5 minutes at maximum. I've seen a few, and they have priority level calls. But I would say that it's partially a staffing problem. So currently, for the majority of the time, your patrol deputies for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office work two. They work 12-hour shifts. They work I think it's 5:30 A to 5:30 P, or 6 A to 6 P, and 6 P to 6 A, vice versa. But when there's two, and there's 915 square miles in this county, and if they both happen to be at the far south end of the county and they get a call at the north end, that's going to be some time. So as far as the staffing problem goes, that's where I've talked about in the past, trimming fat, right? Having me as the sheriff out, the chief deputy out, having more certified people on the streets or in the community of Jefferson instead of behind a comfortable desk, right? That's what we talk about there. So that, and when you ask me about the deputies handling it seriously, you know, based off my experience, I can't say specifically about deputies that work there. I want to hope that they are professionals and that they handle all calls with a sense of urgency. But in my experience, I have seen officers and deputies be lackadaisical about calls. Take their time. That's just an alarm call. That's just a stolen lawnmower call. That's just a this. And what I always try to tell people is, you know, that alarm call, that stolen lawnmower call is very important to the victim, the person who's paying for the alarm service on their house, to ensure that nobody's breaking in, that we could catch them if they were still on scene. The faster we get there, the faster we can deter some of their property getting stolen. The person that is reporting property crimes or persons crimes that's happened to them, that is vitally important that they receive prompt, fast service. So I have seen in my experience that some officers are not as professional about that. And what I would do in regards to that is accountability, right? So I would be monitoring what we call dispatch times, so 19 times. They're 97 times, which is the times they arrive on scene, and they're 98 when they are done with the call, and then their actions as well as including some follow-up, right? Having specific follow-up by personnel on specific calls, right? So monitoring that closely, and then empowering their lowest level supervisor to monitor that, control that, while I monitor and control them on that. So we have got to do better. 2 and 3 hours response times is absolutely ridiculous. So let's see, Lee. I am many years out of the game from the perspective of working in the jail and also as a clean team deputy. My main complaint was the lack of leadership. There were too many people wanting to be bosses instead of getting their hands dirty when everything would hit the fan. Sorry for the late response. You changed topics as I was typing. Not at all, Lee. Thank you so much. I agree. When you say there's too many bosses, I see that a lot of times. There's a role for everybody. There's the worker's role, there's the leader's role, there's the supervisor's role. Leaders aren't necessarily supervisors, and supervisors dang sure ain't normally leaders, or sometimes leaders. We got to make sure that we have leaders in those supervisor roles and can teach them and train them how to effectively manage people to accomplish tasks with the least intrusive way possible. Clear, defined leadership and guidance, right? So you said there was a lack of leadership. That's the overwhelming thing that I've heard about the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, is they lack leadership. So, and I would say leadership is leading from the front, being the tip of the spear, setting the example, first one in, last to leave. Like the military taught me, leaders eat last, right? And leaders are the first to get in there and get their hands dirty. And then workers typically will migrate towards that and become better professionals as they move forward. So let's see, Dennis. Hey, Dennis, how are you doing, buddy? What about starting back the reserve unit with the SO? Back in the day, we ran the river patrol and countless hours working patrol, serving paperwork and whatever the county needed. And it was all for free. So that's a great question, Dennis. So 100%, the reserve program will be back in full effect. My understanding is it still does exist. I just don't know what they do. I know 12, 13, 14 years ago, I attempted to join the reserve program and was straight up told that it was a pay to play type situation. Whoever contributed to the sheriff's campaign, they'd get a position on the reserve program. And I call bull. That will not happen under the Lowery administration. I don't care who you are, what you say. I'm just telling you, I'm speaking facts here, ladies and gentlemen. That will not happen. If there is somebody who is morally and ethically qualified and wants to serve their community in the reserve program, you 100% will receive the training, the opportunity to serve your community and better and serve the sheriff's office. Yes, that will be back in full effect. I have seen that work in great fashion. I got a dear friend who has been a full-time reserve deputy with another sheriff's office by the name of Pulaski County, and he's done a phenomenal job. He's been full-time solo. Don't want to, and I lose track of time. I'm going to say 6-7 years, probably maybe 8. And he carries the load of a full-time deputy. He comes out and is able to take calls, take reports, respond to critical incidents. He's on their SWAT team. There is a place for anybody in Jefferson County who is morally, medically, and ethically qualified to serve under the reserve program. Where there's a will, there's a way. If I got somebody who's wanting to serve the citizens of Jefferson County and I tell them they got to donate to this or donate to that, absolutely not. Per their policy, per their current policy, that a reserve deputy must work 96 hours a year. That's 8 hours a month, 12 months a year, 8 times 12 is 96. So there'll probably be some adaptation to that, but there will dang sure be some accountability towards that. If they're not hitting the mark, they're not going to be part of the program. It's not about giving an ID and a badge to someone so they can walk around and say they're the freaking police, so they're the deputy, they're deputized or whatever. If they're not helping, then they're hurting. If they're hurting, they can go somewhere else. Does that make sense? If they're not helping, they're hurting, they can go somewhere else. But yes, that will be in full effect, Dennis. Hopefully you would love to be part of that, as I know you were back in the day, and you're a great asset to any department. So thank you so much for the question. Last year, Kim says, last year I found a bullet outside the ambulance station from shooting on New Year's Eve. Doesn't surprise me at all, Kim. Matter of fact, I didn't work New Year's Eve for whatever reason. I guess I was off because it's not a day that we can normally be off. But I did go to work January 1st, and as I walked into the department, there was a bullet on the ground right there at the police department. So it doesn't surprise me at all. Yes, Dennis, I agree. Accreditation would flip out at Braswell. Agreed. Devin, in reference to saying we pay 30, 40 a day to house other jails, who is paying that? The sheriff's department? Who? No. No, 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 no. The agency that is putting them there. So Whitehall Police Department, if they choose, because Braswell is closed or not accepting inmates, and they take them to Grant County, Lincoln County, Arkansas County, they are paying the rate for them. That municipality, that arresting agency is the one paying that over there, as my understanding. So when response times fall short, is that, that we already did that. The definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and over expecting to result. Absolutely, Dennis. That's great. I'm glad to hear you say that. That's what I keep telling people. This isn't personal. Ain't nothing about this personal. If we keep electing the same sheriff and expect a different result, that's the definition of insanity. You know, there's a time and day, time and place for parades. There's a time and place for, the nothing but community involvement. But there's also a time for a law enforcement officer to step back in and be the sheriff of Jefferson County and lead from the front. And that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Point blank, period. Law man back in the sheriff's position. Let's see here. Going down through the questions. Yeah, thank you, Dennis. You've known me for some years now. I just try to speak the truth, brother. And sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, but facts don't care about your feelings. I'm not making any of this up. So, man, if we could get them educated and able to realize people do care if they come back to jail or not, I think it would possibly change some minds. Kim, I know it. I know it for a fact. I've already been talking to educators. I'm talking to wardens and deputy wardens that have experience working in the prison system and the programs that they set them up on. People don't want to be bad. I mean, there are some. Okay, let's just face it. There are some that choose to be bad, that want to be bad, but a lot of them are just, they don't know. Uneducated, untrained, unknowing, right? And when I say uneducated, it doesn't mean they're dumb. They just haven't been educated on what opportunities are out there, what different successes they can have trying different things, right? I was just talking to somebody the other day out at Strong Manufacturing. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Strong. It was U.S. Steel. And they were telling me that somebody straight out of high school that doesn't smoke marijuana, it's got a clean criminal record, straight out of high school, can come in making $21 an hour. I don't know if people preach that or talk that up enough in the community. And before you know it, somebody's committed a law violation, started smoking marijuana, and went down a path and didn't even know they had those opportunities right here in Jefferson County. So I think with our jail advisory boards that we're creating with our educators, small business owners, clergy, and our counselors, that we're going to be able to develop programs that are going to aid in cutting down the recidivism. If a person comes to jail because they broke the law and then they just, give us the bird, throw their hands up, we will try. If they just want to be locked up, that's their choice. That's their God-given right. They cannot accept it. However, I believe that by giving opportunity and shining light on a new situation that they may not ever been aware of before. I mean, all of us have probably been that way, like had something going on in life and you thought, man, I never thought of that. I never saw it from that way. But once you did, it was like the light came on. And I believe that can happen with people in our jail. I personally, at our private business, Diamond State K9, we have been involved with the work release program for almost 5 years. And we've had huge successes with that. People have made parole. People have made parole and stayed with us. People have made parole and went back to where they're from in different parts of the state, and they are thriving. And that's all because of programs and education and training and support that we gave them while they were in the program. So I know it will work. So, Kim, thank you for coming by and signing that. I appreciate it so much. Just stop by, Erica or Kathy or myself or Devin. We'll have that for you to sign up. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Chris Phillips. Yep. Chris, when you come into town, meet me at Diamond State. We will accomplish this together. Uh, so let me look at the calendar real quick. So anybody, just so you know, if anybody of my followers, my listeners on here, uh, that want to be part of the team, we can use that as well. Come by or call me 870-556-0330. I can set you up with the clipboard and how we check through voter view on people being properly registered and send you out to neighborhoods to gather these signatures for us. And I promise you, that's more important to me than you buying one of my sweatshirts. If you could take some of the workload off of me and my team to help support our cause, to get the change that you're saying we need. I'm not just saying that. You're telling me we need change. I'm just the one with the courage to run and the experience to lead that has stepped up to the plate to do it for you, the citizens of Jefferson County. So if you could carve out a little bit of time, an hour, 2 hours a day, whatever that looks like for you, and go get some signatures. Most of us work somewhere. I'll send you with some forms and a clipboard. If you work somewhere, go there to your employer, see if they don't mind you collecting these signatures. It's part of our process. It's not asking for voting. It's just getting me put on the ballot. And we will fill up these 2,000 names quickly by doing it that way. So anybody and everybody is available to come help. Dennis asked a question earlier about the reserve program. We'll call this the Reserve Chris Lowery for Jefferson County Sheriff Program. Come on out, help a brother out, and let's get these signatures going. So, yeah, Kim, I love that. I know I've been on here over an hour. I do want to share a story with you just because of what you just said there. Kim, that does help when you talk to people in the ambulance. You talk to them all the time about opportunities and how it can change their lives. You hope it does help. So I want to give you a story. I might have told this once before, but it's a story that touches me very, very much. I'm very much a type A type guy, but this particular story it means a lot to me. So we're going to say a year ago or a year and a half ago, I arrested an individual who had been shoplifting. They had shoplifted from Walmart. When I took them to the jail refused to accept them, so I could not process them into the jail. So I took them out back, and as I'm filling out paperwork, giving them a citation for their Class A misdemeanor, got to talking to them and having a conversation with them. And when he told me his name, it was a fairly common name. Not common, but I knew some of his family. And I said, man, you come from some good stock. Why are you out here doing this? Why are you out here stealing? And he told me that he was addicted to crack cocaine. And it just so happened, some of you may know this, I'm somewhat involved with John 3:16 Ministries up in Batesville to help on recovery for people addicted to substances. Anyway, this particular day, when this man talked to me about he was addicted to crack cocaine, and that's why he was out stealing and doing the things he did. I'm a very factual person, so I just happened to have some pamphlets in my car, and I grabbed one, and I kind of hit him in the chest with it. Kind of like imagine. Here, I'm a very visual person. I kind of stuck it up and hit him in the chest like that with it, and said, "Man, you've identified you got an addiction problem. You're saying that's what causes you to live the life that you're living right now." And I said, you know it, so do something about it. These people here, John 3:16, they have something like an 82% success rate on recovering addicts, so forth and so on. Hit him with that, gave him his ticket, and went on about my business. Because I tell people all the time that God put me on this earth to enforce the law and to find people to help those out who need those services. But that's not what my calling was. My calling was to put people in jail and enforce the law, and then build teams around me that can support those who are in need. So I did that and I moved on. I didn't think no more about it other than it in my mind. I did remember the name just because I knew some of his family. I knew his brother. I won't say the name on here because some of you will know them, but that's their business. But anyway, we move on 3, 6, 9 months. I don't remember the time frame because I don't keep track of time like that. But John 3:16 comes around and sees me a couple times a year at my business located at 6523 Dollar Road. And we support their efforts. Myself and Devin Kellenhofer support the efforts through buying raffle tickets or whatever. just because we believe it's a good thing. So in comes John 3:16. They generally will have one community member with them, one mentor, and then several, 3 or 4 people that are mentees or people in the program. And when they come in, I shake all their hands and talk to them. And this one particular guy, I said, "Man, you look really familiar. Why do you look so familiar to me?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I should look familiar to you." He said, "The last time you saw me was behind that jail when I told you I was addicted to crack cocaine. And you hit me in the chest with that pamphlet and told me if I knew I had a problem, I ought to do something about it. And I took your advice and I called John 3:16, got accepted into the program. And I have now been sober for, at the time, I think it was 3 or 4 months. And last I heard, this individual is doing great." So I tell you that story not for any sympathy or empathy, but I tell you that because, Kim, you just keep fighting the good fight. You keep spreading the good word. You tell them on the back of the ambulance different ways they could do different things and change the trajectory of their life. That will help what is going wrong in Jefferson County. Sometimes we just don't think it's our fault or our problem, and so we look the other way. But all of us first responders, all of us neighbors, all of us good people have to do good deeds and spread good word out to the citizens of Jefferson County and try to get people on board with what will make their life better as well will make Jefferson County better. So before I get off here, I want to just make sure I ain't missed anything. There you go. There's our link there to sign up to volunteer. You can sign up at Lowery4sheriff.com/volunteer. I would appreciate that so much. Make sure to tell your friends, your neighbors, neighbor to the left, neighbor to the right, that, hey, this guy, Chris Lowery, he is about this business. He is about being the next sheriff. He will bring the change that is desperately needed in Jefferson County and help stop this crisis of epidemic proportions of high crime rates and people wanting to leave Jefferson County. So, yep, mentoring makes a big difference. That's one of the programs I have in my notes and everything. I want to get a mentorship program, an accountability program, such as small businesses kind of adopting I don't want to say adopting, but mentoring a criminal and giving them an opportunity and seeing how that's worked for us in our business. Do good and good will be. Do the right things for the right reasons. You'll be blessed for it. Kathy Lowery, you know that. So, Devin, I appreciate you so much and the things you do. Kevin, you're signed up probably to vote, and you're signed up on the website to be a committed voter. But what I need, this is a separate deal. This is a petition that the state of Arkansas Annotated Code, annotated 7-7103, as an independent candidate, I must provide a petition with valid registered voters in Jefferson County, have 90 days to accomplish it. The number looks like it's 550 signatures that I need, but we're shooting for 2,000. So, Kevin, come on out to 6523 Dalloway Road, have a cup of coffee with me, or tomorrow morning I'm going to go to Lucky's Cafe. Lucky's Cafe, come on out and see me at Lucky's Cafe on 5th Avenue, 5th and Convention, basically. Come on out there and see me, have a cup of coffee with me. I'll have the forms there where I'll get some signatures on that tomorrow morning. Come see me, and then if you want to volunteer, come on out. Maybe I'll buy you breakfast, and we can talk about how to get you set up to volunteer to go do that for me. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your opportunity and your time. I know your time is valuable. Be safe out there. Remember, Lowery4sheriff.com. Check us all. Hey, Kevin, I'll be there at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. I wanted to say 7:30, but man, I might be running late. So 8 a.m. I'll be at Lucky's. Probably more like 7:30, 7:45, but 8, so you can't make fun of me for being late. But Lowery4sheriff, Lowery number 4, sheriff.com. It's a place to register to vote. You can make financial contributions if you want to. It's a place to volunteer and just keep up with any updates that we might be pushing out. As well, as I said, I was going to look at my calendar real quick. Let's see. Tomorrow evening, I have a dinner that I'm going to be going to with some friends. Saturday, February 7th, I will be at the Whitehall Policeman's Ball, the charity ball at the community center in Whitehall. And then Sunday evening, I will be free. Looks like we have a Jefferson County Candidate Expo at 2801 South Olive that's part of the chamber deal. And then we also have, I think it's on the 12th. I believe that's the other forum for the Divine Nine. I'll be pushing that info out on social media. Kate, if you could check those dates for me, my calendar wasn't updated right then for some reason. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much. If you can always reach me at 870-556-0330. I'm just a phone call away. Send me your messages, send me your text, whatever. Give me a call, whatever you want to do. I'll see if I can't help you out. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, as always, be safe and remember, God bless Jefferson County.